Now I'd like to cover how to do cut, copy, paste within Microsoft Project for whole sets of activities and deliverables. So this is an immensely valuable thing to learn how to do, and it's quite simple as long as you understand a few basic rules about how to do that. So from the same project file that we've been working in, I'm going to go back to the activity entry view. This is the easiest place to make wholesale changes to the project schedule. One of the things you need to know is how to resort the activity IDs and how to move things around, because it's quite important when you cut and copy that the activities that you're grabbing are in sequential order. So an example of how to move an activity or milestone would be to click on its number, then you're going to get the crosshairs, and then you can move it, drag it up and down in the plan. Project's a little bit finicky about how to do this, so for example you might get an arrow that says that you can't move it depending on where you put it. See, now it's blocking me just because I drug it off screen slightly, so it's not going to let me move it around until I play around with the cursor a little bit more. Then I move finish and start right next to each other where they should be in the 1 and 2 position. Sometimes that gets moved around when you're doing the network diagram exercise, so you need to manually place that. If I want to insert a blank line between deliverables, it's just a nice way to do things. You can just hit the insert key and it puts a blank line in there. And what I might like to do here is copy this section around reports. Maybe I have a deliverable that's quite similar to that I want to duplicate and make some slight changes to. So what I'm going to do here is select the blank line as well as all the activities in that set. So I've got those highlighted, and I'm going to copy. So there's two ways to do that. You can hit Control C, or you can go to Edit, Copy, and then select the row that you want to place it on, and hit Control V or Edit and paste. And it's going to paste those in here. Now let me show you what that's done, because there's some things that have happened behind the scenes that aren't displayed right now. So what I'm going to do here is drop in the predecessor and successor columns. So I'm going to insert column, successor, and then insert column, predecessor. Okay. You can see that those links are retained between the activities, except for the activities that are at the front and that are at the back. So the successor here is dropped off and the predecessor on these two tasks. And the reason being is that I didn't copy and paste the start and finish milestone. If I had, it would retain those activities, but again, I only want one start and one finish for my project file. So I need to manually link those up. So I'm going to click 1, 1, and then 2 here. Now, obviously I don't want two exact duplicates of those deliverables, so what I might do here is change this slightly and say, rather than reports, I might go a little bit into more detail here and say these are the monthly reports and these are the quarterly reports. And then I can drag down. There's two ways to do that. I can select the tasks and hit Control D, or I can select the top one, grab the bottom just like in Excel, and drag that down. So I've got monthly reports and quarterly reports. It's always a good idea here to change some of the descriptions within the activities so you don't confuse the teammates. So rather than just reports, I'm going to replace and use the find and replace to do this quickly. I'm going to find anywhere where it mentions reports in this deliverable set and replace that with monthly reports. So I'll find next and replace, and now change it to quarterly, replace, and now I might also change the description here. So monthly reporting capability established, quarterly reporting capability established. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say that maybe it's slightly more difficult to do the quarterly reports, and you've got more stakeholders to check with. So these tasks are going to increase as well. So it takes a little bit more work to do the quarterly reports. Not too much. I just want to show is operating on different time scales, so it's easy to differentiate between the two. I'm also going to put in a service line here for these and say this is governance, or rather account management. Okay, so I've completed out the little bit more of the outline coding there. So that's how to copy and paste. Now I'm going to show you, that's how to copy and paste correctly. Now I'm going to show you some problems you might run into when you do the copy and paste function. Let's say, for example, that you've done some planning and your project schedule, when you look in the activity entry view, isn't quite as organized as this. You don't have the deliverables grouped just as such. Let's say maybe you have this spurious activity in here to do something else. So it's related to another deliverable. Doesn't really matter what, and this is for a different service line, and this is someone else. Let's also say that this activity, for whatever reason, got mixed up and is now placed up in here. So what happens if I want to copy the quarterly reports section and create a duplicate of that? So at this point, what you might be thinking, well, there's a couple ways to do this. So I can select quarterly reports, quarterly, select just those activities related to quarterly reports and do the same thing. So Control C, and then find a blank, find an open space, and Control V. Now look what's happened here. It's missed out a lot of these connections between the activities. So it's actually copied those through, but it's created more work for myself. That could be a problem that you can avoid if you just make sure that those are sequentially in order. Another way to do that, though, would be to do your auto filter. So I'm going to go here, filter, and then apply the auto filter, and this is a really neat trick to use. So I'm going to auto filter by deliverable, and I just want those quarterly reports. Now you can see that those aren't in sequential order, so I've got 9, 13, 14, 15, skips 1 to 17, 18, 19. And then I can select these and then paste it in here. And again, I get the same sort of result, where it's not carrying over the predecessor and successor information for the develop the report capability within the system, even though it's still linked to activities within that set that I just copied. And the reason, of course, being is that it wasn't in sequential order with these other tasks. So that's a problem that you run into occasionally with the cut, copy, paste. So you just need to make sure that the activities that you're copying are in sequential order. And obviously with 7 or 8 tasks, it's not very difficult to make sure of that. But when you're dealing with copying and pasting blocks of deliverables or activities, because you can do this with more than just one deliverable, you need to be a little bit more careful about that. Sometimes it will copy them, but it will catch predecessors and successors that are completely unrelated and really shouldn't be there at all. So it can be quite misleading. So that's just one thing to watch out for when you do the cut, copy, paste feature. So I'm going to hit F3 to display all and fix those things that I just moved around within this. I'm going to delete this activity as well. And there we go. We're back in here, and if I go to the Gantt view, you can see how these are displayed accordingly. One thing I'm also going to correct here is the start and finish. I'm going to give it a deliverable categorization. So I'm going to go here, and for both service line and deliverable, I'm going to have key milestone is the value. Okay. So when I go to the Gantt view, it shows up accordingly. So that's pretty much it with cut, copy, paste. Hopefully that's helpful.